National parks, sanctuaries of peace, bastions of adventure. But within their ancient folds, some secrets lie buried deeper than the roots of their oldest trees. The Whispering Peaks National Forest was one such place. Towering firs, mist-shrouded valleys, and snow-capped summits painted a landscape as breathtaking as it was treacherous. Every year, countless souls sought solace or thrill here. Some never returned. In late August of 2023, 3 seasoned hikers, Sarah, Mark, and Jessica, intimate with every trail and hidden cove of the peaks, set out for a routine day hike. They were due back by dusk. They weren't. By dawn, their trucks sat solitary in the parking lot. A crumpled map, 3 pairs of muddy boots heading into the treeline. These were the last definitive signs. Their satellite phones, their GPS trackers, all silent. The wilderness they called home had swallowed them whole. Authorities launched an immediate, large-scale search and rescue operation, but from the outset, something felt terribly, profoundly wrong. Ranger Elias Thorne, a seasoned leader of the search and rescue team, had seen hundreds of cases in his career. He was a man of logic and experience, believing every mystery could be unraveled by science and instinct. Yet, the Whispering Peaks had always held a disturbing anomaly, cases of people vanishing without a trace. This time, it felt different, heavier. Sarah, Mark, and Jessica were veterans. They didn't just get lost. Elias led his team deep into the wilderness, where the scent of pine and damp earth hung heavy in the air. The forest grew denser with every step, sunlight struggling to reach the forest floor. The team's K9 units, usually precise trackers, seemed disoriented. They circled restlessly, occasionally barking into the air with uncertainty, then falling silent. Elias himself meticulously scrutinized every rock, every fallen leaf. No broken branches, no dropped gear, no emergency signals, just an oppressive silence, deepening with each passing hour. It was the silence of a forest that held a secret, not merely one that had swallowed travelers. Ranger Elias Thorne, a seasoned leader of the search and rescue team, had seen hundreds of cases in his career. He was a man of logic and experience, believing every mystery could be unraveled by science and instinct. Yet, the Whispering Peaks had always held a disturbing anomaly, cases of people vanishing without a trace. This time, it felt different, heavier. Sarah, Mark, and Jessica were veterans. They didn't just get lost. Elias led his team deep into the wilderness, where the scent of pine and damp earth hung heavy in the air. The forest grew denser with every step, sunlight struggling to reach the forest floor. The team's K9 units, usually precise trackers, seemed disoriented. They circled restlessly, occasionally barking into the air with uncertainty, then falling silent. Elias himself meticulously scrutinized every rock, every fallen leaf. No broken branches, no dropped gear, no emergency signals, just an oppressive silence, deepening with each passing hour. It was the silence of a forest that held a secret, not merely one that had swallowed travelers. As days bled into nights and the team delved deeper into the woods, strange occurrences began to escalate. At first, Elias dismissed them as fatigue, stress, or the typical tricks of the wilderness. But soon, they became too frequent, too peculiar. Team members began reporting faint whispers, distant calls of their names, echoing from the treeline. But when they turned, there was no one. Sometimes, sounds seemed to emanate directly from the trees themselves, resonating through the wood, but they were not human voices, deeper, more ancient, like a whisper carved from stone. One night, Elias glimpsed a figure just beyond his campsite, vaguely humanoid, yet impossibly tall and slender, standing motionless among the trees for a fleeting moment before dissolving into the mist. When he reached the spot, there was only the cold night air and the rustle of leaves. No tracks, no evidence. This was the point where the cracks began to appear in Elias's rational resolve. This wasn't normal. This was something else entirely. After a week of relentless, fruitless searching, the team stumbled upon a breakthrough in an uncharted, labyrinthine section of the forest. Elias and his squad discovered an old, dilapidated wooden cabin, completely absent from official maps or any local legends. The cabin was nearly swallowed by plants and moss, blending seamlessly into the ancient woods. Inside, despite a thick layer of dust and cobwebs, an unsettling atmosphere prevailed. Old chairs, a tattered cot, and a wooden table, all abandoned decades ago. But what truly sent a chill down Elias's spine were the walls. Not just carvings, but crude, almost violent symbols, hinting at an unknown language or a forgotten tribe. On the table lay an ancient, leather-bound journal. Its pages were yellowed, the ink faded, but the frantic handwriting was legible. It dated back to the 1940s, penned by a solitary trapper who wrote of forest spirits or echoes in this region, entities that stole voices and twisted minds. The cabin air held a heavy, suffocating silence, as if the forest itself was holding its breath. What Elias read in the journal began to fracture the bedrock of his logic. The trapper described an entity he called the Echo, a presence dwelling within the forest, stealing voices and identities. It created illusions, compelling its victims to hear the voices of their loved ones, drawing them deeper into its embrace. Over the next few hours, Elias realized he was caught in this psychological warfare himself. He heard his lost sister's voice from the trees, calling out for help, despite having lost her years ago in an accident. He overheard his team members speaking strange, disturbing things they hadn't said, twisted versions of their own thoughts. One night, sitting alone by the fire, he saw his own reflection in a still puddle, but it was smiling a wide, distorted grin that wasn't his. Elias knew this entity was toying with his mind, weaponizing his deepest memories and sorrows. The forest was no longer just a physical threat, but a living, breathing nightmare intent on shattering his very soul. The silence of the forest was no longer merely quiet, it was an active, hostile presence. The bond between Elias and his team was fraying, dissolving under the constant psychological assault. Desperation reached a fever pitch. Their radios had completely ceased functioning, making all external communication impossible. Their GPS devices glitched erratically, sending them in endless, disorienting loops. For Sarah, a young mountaineer on the team, the psychological attacks were the most profound. She claimed to hear the voice of her deceased child, beckoning her deeper into the woods. Elias tried to hold her back, but Sarah's eyes held a terrifying vacancy, a will that wasn't her own. She tore free, fleeing into the dense forest, her desperate screams quickly fading among the trees. Elias knew they were utterly alone, cut off from the outside world. The Echo was taking them one by one, infiltrating their minds, breaking them to its will. The sun was beginning to set, and the forest, once again, unfurled like a predator. As Elias slammed the journal shut, a profound, dawning horror settled over him. He and James, his last remaining teammate, retreated to the cabin where they'd found the journal. Elias needed answers, and he felt they were hidden within those yellowed pages. He spent the night feverishly poring over the trapper's journal, his hands trembling. The journal provided even more detailed descriptions of the Echo. It wasn't merely a spirit, but the very consciousness of the forest, an ancient, hungry entity that had existed for millennia. It fed on the identities of those who wandered lost within its domain, absorbing their memories, voices, and personalities. The trapper wrote that the Echo particularly targeted those burdened by guilt or sorrow, for their souls were more vibrant and flavorful than others. He even mentioned an ancient local tribe that knew of this entity and performed rituals to appease it. A terrifying realization struck Elias. The missing hikers, Sarah, Mark, and Jessica, were likely not dead. They had become part of the Echo, trapped within its consciousness, the faint whispers echoing through the forest. Elias knew the Echo couldn't be defeated, but it could be repelled. The journal offered a clue: drown its voice with its own echo. Elias formulated a desperate, dangerous plan. He retrieved an old, battery-powered audio recorder from his pack, an emergency relic he'd kept for years. He signaled James. As they burst through the door and stepped into the forest, the Echo attacked. Voices assailed them from all directions: Sarah's screams, Mark's laughter, Jessica's whispers. Elias switched the recorder to maximum volume. He had previously captured snippets of the strange, distorted sounds he'd heard. His sister's spectral call, Sarah's desperate cries, the unsettling whispers. Now, the forest was filled with its own horrifying echoes, a cacophony of recorded screams and warped voices being played back. The echo initially surged forward, but soon the sound seemed to falter, as if the entity was disoriented, overwhelmed by the grotesque mimicry of its own hunting methods. Elias and James, wounded and exhausted, fled. The forest pursued, but the echoing cacophony bought them precious moments. They reached the forest's edge. As the first slivers of dawn pierced the treeline, the entity recoiled. They had survived, but at a terrible cost. Elias and James were eventually found by the outside world hours later, but they were not the same men who had gone in. The forest had changed them. Their physical wounds healed, but the scars etched upon their minds were permanent. Their stories were disbelieved, dismissed as the ravings of shock and PTSD. Elias lost his job, deemed mentally unstable. James was admitted to a psychiatric facility where he continually claimed to hear the whispers. The media filed the missing hikers under "Never Found." The Whispering Peaks National Forest was eventually reopened to visitors, but Elias knew the forest had simply retreated, not vanished. He still lives in a remote, dilapidated cabin, far from civilization. Sometimes, when the wind blows just right, he can hear it, faintly, from deep within the distant treeline, a whisper of his own name. It's the echo, a lingering presence that will never truly let him go. It will always be there, waiting, in the whispers of the forest, in the echoes of all those lost voices. Nature holds its secrets, and some secrets, like those of the Whispering Peaks, are never fully solved, only buried deeper, until they are ready to emerge once more.